Welcome to Quit to Win, the show where we explore the moments people have to let go of destructive pattern, limiting identity, and the internal battles to rebuild their life with purpose and clarity. The guest is Dwight Heck, a single father of five, financial coach, best-selling author, speaker, and host of Give a Heck podcast. Dwight spent years buried in financial stress, emotional exhaustion, sleepless nights before a health crisis in 2021 forced him to stop and reckon with the life he was living. His turning point was a conviction that becomes his mission. Live your life on purpose, not by accident. Everything has been built for the last 24 years, has flowed from that particular decision. It's really a pleasure and honor having you on the show, Dwight. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So you're a single father of five, very financial stress, not knowing how money work out. What did that season of quiet desperation actually feel like?
That pressure and feeling of quiet desperation when you're struggling to raise a family and put food on the table and pay bills so that the bill collectors aren't reaching out to you or threatening or actually cutting off utilities is horrible, because you want to hide that pain and that fear that you're feeling, that quiet desperation from your kids, from your family,
Yeah.
from not just your children, from people around you. You don't want people to think less of you, even though most people won't think less of you. So you live in a quiet desperation. You live like your mind, your emotions, you're inside of your own personal mental jail, right? Quiet desperation is, and then you put a mask on when you get up in the morning so that you can hide that from people around you, because you don't want them to judge you. You don't want your children to feel that guilt or the worry, right? Their lives are already hard enough as they're growing up. And, so it got to a point where I was going to bed that way, right? Take the mask off. I'm in bed. Quiet desperation. It would grip my waking hours, but it gripped my sleeping hours as well. So quiet desperation is something that many of us suffer through. We just don't realize it. And that is something that is, in my own mind, I guess, when you think about the pandemic and diseases and stuff, there's a pandemic with mental health issues, emotional issues, that is not just in North America, but it's around the world, where so many people, even friends and family of yourself, go to bed, get up, right? And they wear a mask. They live in a facade. They don't really have control of their life except to portray that everything's okay when really it's not.
Yeah, a whole lot, and having to keep it up for the children not to see it. It's really a whole lot of mental health, having to deal with a whole lot. So a health crisis in 2001 become your turning point. What did nearly losing your health show you about life you had been building, and what did it make impossible to keep ignoring?
Well, when you have health issues, you can be driven as a person, I don't care where you are in the world, to want to be successful, to want to be an accomplished individual at whatever you do, right? You want to look good, you want to sound good, you want to present good, and you want to perform well, right? You want to continue to present. Again, it's a facade. So I worked and worked and worked. I'd literally go days without sleep. I'm not even exaggerating. I was such a workaholic that I was already divorced, but when I didn't have my kids, I worked. It was a deflection mechanism too, so I could avoid my problems. So I worked all the time. I literally would sleep a few hours and work. And if I didn't, sometimes I'd get so caught up in what I was doing, as at that time I wasn't in finance yet. I was a computer consultant and I ran a firm that was mine. And I'd literally be up 2-3 days at a time, right? Well, all of a sudden I had the health scare, and, literally a few days after September 11th happened in the US, with the fall of the towers, I was struggling. And all of a sudden ended up in the hospital, couldn't work for a few months, had a medical condition that caused me to have paralysis in my face. I couldn't see properly out of the one eye. I had to have it taped shut because I couldn't blink anymore. And it caused me to realize, was this all worth it? So I worked and impressed all these people these last years, working all these hours, being the go-to guy that they could count on, that would get the job done. What did it accomplish, right? Wow, now I can't work for the next few months. I'm relying on other people to take me to the grocery store. I'm relying on people to help me around my house because, I couldn't drive anywhere. I couldn't go to have my kids because at that time I didn't have them full time. I still had them joint. So for them to come to be with me, I had to have somebody do that for me. I felt completely helpless. And it caused me to reflect on my life. Like, people listening or watching, when you invest that much, think about what the result's going to be long term. And long term can be a week later, a month later, right? Can be a year later. You investing all that time for others is admirable when you're supporting other people, but at what cost? Where's your boundaries? So it forced me to have to look at my life and realize, number one, professionals are telling me to leave this industry because I can't let go. Even after my health scare was gone, I went back to being the exact same person. Even though I had some realizations, the biggest realizations happened months after the fact, when I realized I was falling into the same trap, seeing a specialist for the condition I had just suffered from, and him saying, you need to leave that industry. You need to find something else, right? I left that industry and I started being the same thing in the new industry.
Yeah.
I was wired to be on all the time, and that's learned behavior, because my dad was a workaholic in his own business, right? So learned behavior. I had to snap out of it and realize, what am I investing? What do I need to accomplish? Am I going to accomplish just enough to support my family and be happy, pay the bills, have a little bit extra? Or am I going to try to be like everybody else out there that's extremely wealthy and have so much, but we don't know their facade behind the scenes? Right? What do I want out of life? And I decided, and it's been an ongoing journey since then, just to be honest with you. I still go through the valley of despair. I still struggle. I just have more tools. I've adapted and created things for my clients and for myself that I teach and share on podcasts, just to help me snap out of things. I'm not the same person, but there's still the same problems that can present itself. It's easy for us to slide back into our old patterns, right? So I learned a lot and realized that I needed to change. And that's when my evolution really started changing. Even though I had started personal development already back in 1993, it's one thing to read, it's another thing to implement. So I started doing more things to implement all these things I was learning, and then developing things, the stuff I didn't like, just like a buffet, I left that behind. I didn't like the taste of it. So I
Yeah.
took more of what I liked to help myself be a better person.
Yeah. Really a whole lot. And the fact that, yeah, the pattern keep continuing. So you had a formal background in finance. So you build expertise for necessity for your family first. What did learning for survival teach you about learning that formal education really produce?
You're talking about me getting into finance, and what did it produce? Well, it produced something that helped me get past some of the quiet desperation. Here's what most people don't realize. When you're in the industry of doing finance and insurance and doing planning, you become a person's sounding board if you do your job right. If you goal set with them, you find out where they are in their lives. It taught me that I wasn't alone, right? It taught me
Yeah.
that there was other people, and it may sound bad, but it's not. It was good. It taught me that not that commiserating with them or that misery likes company. It taught me that I needed to take things more serious, because I could see all their financial boat issues that were similar to what I currently still had or had just gotten through. So it made me a better coach too. It made me a better financial person, so I could be more empathetic toward them. But it taught me that I needed to continually step it up. I needed to continually have fail-safes in my life, that if I slid into the valley of despair, which would affect my finances, or something would go on with my kids, because eventually I got full custody, it taught me that the money issues are the least of my issues. I need to worry, and I'm not saying that they weren't important, but I needed to figure out my core values, and my core values are faith, family, and work. I needed to always, first and foremost, put my faith, put my God first and foremost. And, he's not going to make it easy. He's not going to make it hard. He's going to make it whatever I put in an input as well, right? I don't know the path that I'm supposed to be on, but if I focused on that, and then, my faith helped me with my family. The more I plugged into my faith and just didn't use it as I'm going to church or I pray, but actually took it serious, it made my family life better. And work was the third of it, because if the other two aren't healthy, work is hard to not get sucked into that distraction and working too much, and again, having health health issues. It goes back to the same thing. So it taught me a lot through seeing the lens of other people and what they were going through, made me realize that I wasn't alone, made me realize I needed to keep pushing forward to grow me so that I could serve others better, right? Because of my faith, family, and work, God wants you to serve, right? So
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So you described the hammer wheel of working tirelessly and growing, going nowhere. What's actually keeping people on it? And what does getting off require beyond just working harder or anymore?
well, yeah, we literally climb onto the hamster wheel of life at a very young age. You don't even necessarily have to be an adult yet and get caught on the hamster wheel of life, go to work, go home, get paid, go to school, go home, right? Start over next day. We get into this patterns and we don't know how to break the patterns. And part of the issue is getting caught on that hamster wheel of life. Our mind, our brain is scientifically proven as a giant computer. It needs data. It needs input, and it doesn't know the difference between a truth and a lie. So if you're inputting lies into it all the time, you're going to get garbage in, garbage out, if that makes sense, right? So it's so easy to get stuck on that hamster wheel of life and not feed our brains, and we just literally coast. We're flatlined sometimes of our life, and then the other times we're in the valley of despair. We never have a peak of happiness. We're just stuck. We look forward to the weekends, right? Then all of a sudden Friday comes around, Saturday, then Sunday morning, we're like, oh, we got to go back to work tomorrow, right? For the traditional Monday to Friday person that's stuck on a hamster wheel, it's just like, oh my gosh. And then what are they looking forward to? Retirement. You're in you're 25, you got 40 years to go, 50 years to go of work, right? So then depression sits in, and that hamster wheel causes people to get stuck into addiction. And addiction isn't just drugs and alcohol. Addiction to sadness, addiction to anger, addiction to violence, addiction to pornography, addiction to TV. It can be a combination of all of them. The wrong buffet of life, right? Some of those things that I mentioned can be decent, right? I'm not saying television's bad. I'm not saying that you can't be sad. I'm saying you can become addicted to being in that hamster wheel of life of going to work and always be addicted to and stuck in that hamster wheel of being sad because you know that it's just going to start over again Monday. And then you got 52 weeks of that. And if you're lucky, you get a couple weeks off for vacation, right? And even on vacation, you're stressed out about money. How are you going to pay for this vacation? Is it a credit card vacation? Is it going to take you a year, 2 years to pay off? Should you have even gone on it, right? And then maybe you don't think about it during the vacation, but you think about it when you get home. So now you're on the hamster with all the other problems of living life, going to work, go home, get paid, dealing with your own life, dealing with your children if you have children. And now you got debt and a bill coming in that just compounds and it makes it worse. So it's a very dangerous circumstance. Is it easy to get off the hamster wheel of life? Yes and no, right? It can be really hard to get off the hamster wheel of life. You got to be the willing. Like I tell my clients, they tell me, oh, we're stuck. And we start talking and I find out their story of life, what their money monsters, their emotional life monsters are, and we break it down. And then I relate to them things that I've gone through or other clients have gone through to not commiserate, but to let them know they're not alone. Remember I mentioned earlier, I felt alone. Well, that's what people need. That's how you're going to go off the hamster wheel of life, is being willing to be in the uncomfortable and acknowledge the uncomfortable. Because if you don't acknowledge you're uncomfortable and be willing to realize, oh, okay, we're going to try this, but we might fail. That's okay. Failure is a stepping stone to the next success, right? But you got to be willing to change. And that's how people get off the hamster wheel of life. Can you stay off it forever? No, that's a lie. If I would say that, that's a lie. Why do I say that? Because I still, even at my age, with my kids all growing up now, grandkids, I can still get on the hamster wheel of life because life gets too quick. And then I forget to acknowledge, what am I feeling? What am I going through? Now, what am I going to do to get off the hamster wheel? Sometimes I can do it within minutes, and then sometimes it can be a couple days. It all depends on the circumstance. So I'm not perfect. The people listening and watching, I'm not perfect. I just am the willing. You can be too.
Yeah, amazing. This is really lovely, the part that just having different monologue and hearing different stories and having those accounts and sharing insights. Yeah, permission to just hear those things. I'll give you permission to say this is a common problem and seeing the better way to come out from it and to become better. Yeah, this is really amazing. So live on purpose, not by accident. What does living by accident actually look like? And how do most people not even realize that it was what they were living through?
Well, great question, because that ties right back to the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
If you're on the hamster wheel and you're listening and any of this has resonated with you and you're going through that cycle of go to work, go home, get paid, it's the same patterns on the weekend, the same addictive personality, nothing changes, the same people you're hanging out with do the same things as you, and you commiserate with one another. Because drinkers hang out with drinkers, smokers hang out with
Yeah.
smokers, depressed people hang out with depressed
Yeah.
people, right? It's just, I'm not saying that people choose that. That's just the reality. We become magnets to who we are and what we are. And if that's the case, you are living life by accident, right? You're living it because you're not controlling it. You're just living in a pattern behavior, in a buffer, that hamster wheel, right? So if you don't literally realize where you're at, you literally can't get off the hamster wheel. You can't stop living by accident. To live on purpose means you are willing, you acknowledge that you need to grow and change. Maybe it's your finances. Maybe it's your personal, how you deal with things. Maybe it's associations of what you read, what you listen to, and who you hang out with. Maybe you need to take baby steps to change that. I am telling you, I've done it. Has it hurt sometimes? Absolutely.
Yeah, it does.
It can be painful because you can lose people in your life that you've been friends with for 20, 30 years. Maybe you've been trapped on the hamster wheel and living by accident for 30, 40 years already, right? Maybe, oh, I can't get rid of that person. Well, are they good for you? What do they do? Like, I have those tough conversations. Just tell me a little bit about them. Oh, do you think that maybe part of what you're going through is that when you're stuck on stuff, you're talking to the same people that are going to go, oh, poor you, instead of going, you know what? I
Yeah.
understand what you're going through, right? I understand what you're going through. Let's have you thought about the opposite side of it? And that's the type of person I've become. I'll say, understand. So I'm an empath, so I'm really good at being empathetic. But can I give them enough information to help them stop living by accident, right? Can I help them feel better about themselves? What can I go through with them? Can I truly make a difference in their lives? Are they willing enough? That's how you stop living by accident. Taking that first baby step and going through the uncomfortable of sharing it with somebody that has experience, not just knowledge. Yeah. Knowledge is one thing. Anybody can read and have knowledge. Do you have knowledge with experience to tie it together to serve, to help people?
Yeah, having knowledge with experience, make it a correct basis. Yeah, but willing to take the first step towards reaching out and being vulnerable to talk those things out. Yeah, is the first step. Amazing. So you raised 5 kids as a single father. What did that season teach you about leadership, vulnerability, and what it means to keep going when everything is hard?
Well, taught me lots because the hard was there lots. 4 daughters and a son. When I ended up getting full-time custody, the oldest she actually had gone out on her own. She ran away and she wasn't happy being with her mom. She wasn't happy because she had lived with me for about 2 years full time. And in a few months period of time, I moved from a house I was in, built another house because I had seen the writing on the wall. I was going to get him full time. So she took off. That caused its own problems. Then the 4 kids that were still around, they're dealing with all their own hangups, abandonment issues, they're associating with people that aren't necessarily healthy for them. And how did it affect on a leadership basis? Well, as a parent, you're a leader of your children. You're giving them behaviors and things that are going to stick with them for the rest of their lives. And most of them are cemented in their mindsets. Science has proved 7, 8 years of age, right? It's pretty much is locked in from what you communicate. So as a leader of my kids, as a parent, I had to have conversations that were tough, but digestible enough at their age. I had to learn to question their friendships. I had to learn so much so that if they were going to a friend's house, what's the parent's name? What's their phone number? I need to hear from them or I'm calling them. I need to know that you're going to be there, that you were invited, right? Oh, you got to trust us. No, I'm sorry. Trust is earned, right? And in order for me to trust you at your young age, I need to trust in me and to trust in you that you're okay. Oh, you want to go to that house, hang out with those people? I need to know there's going to be an adult around. Right? I don't need you to get into trouble. And that is the type of leader I tried being. It was successful for some of the kids. Some of the kids it was not. They
Yeah.
just rejected it, and they got into problems because of it. And you can only lead people to, like they say, you can only lead to horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. So you can lead
Yeah.
people and be a leader to your children. Try to set the right example. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you need to acknowledge to your kids, hey, I screwed up with you on this, right? Let's work on this. And then sometimes they aren't ready to receive that information, and then you try to deal with that as an adult when they're adults, right? And that's even more difficult. So
Yeah.
there's no right or wrong answer to being to how it taught me to be a better leader, because my empathy was there. It taught me to be more empathetic to other people, again, in the same circumstance, right?
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing out. So lastly, you talk about our 1730 principle, how our association shape our success. What does that mean? And what does our someone need to quit tolerating in their cycle before they can grow?
Well, you got to stop tolerating the people we just talked about that commiserate with you, that are the same as you, right? You need to start acknowledging and being aware of conversations and how they make you feel. We all have triggers. Most people, I'd say a majority of the population, doesn't understand their triggers. They don't understand how an event, conversation, what they visualize and see happening, what they hear happening, maybe it's a combination of all of it, how it's affecting them, and realize that how are you going to filter that? So I created the 70-30 principle. I've been teaching on it now for, oh my gosh, probably I'd have to say at least 8 years, 9 years, maybe a little bit shorter, a little bit longer. What the 70-30 principle is I tell people, okay, the people that you have in your life, that are in your life, how did they react to when you're going through tough spots? Oh, they're very how are they being supportive, right? When you leave that circumstance, do you feel good? Well, no, not really. A lot of times I feel worse, or I'm about the same. So it really doesn't elevate you. So relationships aren't going to be perfect. They're not going to always be there to make you feel good and elevate. But 70% of the time, when I'm dealing with somebody and communicating with them, I can't wait to see them again. And if can't wait to see them again, is it because they fed me on the negative side? And I want to continue to feel negative and down and low and living on accident? Or is it 70% of the time they make me smile? I can't wait to see them again. 30% of the time I don't agree with what they say, as long as it's not morally apprehensive, illegal, or harmful to themselves or me or anybody else. 30% of the time they say comments, or they write something in today's day and age on social media, or they text you something that comes the wrong way. Oh well, 70% of the time they make me smile.
Yeah.
I get a hug from them. I can't wait for them to come back and see me again. I can't wait for our next interaction, right? But soon as it gets to a point where it's 50-50, I wave goodbye.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
50% of the time, if you make me feel awful, and 50% of the time you make me happy, I don't know what version I'm getting of you, right?
So true.
Does that help you live on purpose? Absolutely not. You're living by accident. You're living in a state of not knowing what that relationship is going to be like. And you can apply that 70-30 again against anything. If TV shows you watch, right? That can affect your life. The music you listen to, if you're always listening to boo-hoo, sad music, guess what it evokes in you as an emotion? Sadness. Maybe it's angst. Maybe it's anger music. Maybe it's just like violent music. Some people are into that sort of stuff. Is it serving you? Right? If what you're reading causes you anguish, does it serve you? Well, 70% of the time it does. Once in a while I get into the rabbit hole and I listen to something or do whatever just because I enjoy it, but it doesn't affect my mental state, right? 30% of the time I can tolerate it, right? I just need that, it's not that bad, but 70% of the time it's good. Okay, well, then you can still have that part of your association if you feel that you're being, and another thing about the 70-30 principle, it's hard for people to be honest with themselves.
Yeah.
right? About their long-term relationships, right? It can be a significant other, friend, family. Again, that is type of association, but it's the same thing with everything we ingest in our life. Anything that comes into our brain is an association, right? And people forget that. They automatically assume it's people. It's what people present. It's what you read. It's what you watch. It's what you listen to.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your insight on this. It's really be a pleasure having you on the show. So, from our audience who would love to connect with you, reach out to you either for coaching sections or to kind of consume more of your content. And how can they reach out, and where is the best platform?
Best place, it's not even one platform. I'll save everybody a lot of trying to remember a handle for social media. Just go to giveaheck.com. So giveaheck.com, just like it sounds. You can go in there and find out about everything about me, my speaking, my podcast, my book, my coaching, my financial education. You can go up and drop down into the work with me button and book a free call. We'll have a conversation to see if there's anything I can help you with. So depending on where you live in the world, I can help you out with certain things and certain things I can't, because if it involves specific financial practices and that's what you're looking for, I can help you with budgeting. I can help you with goal setting. I can help you understand the rules of the money game, but I won't necessarily be able to help you with the products or services you need, because you have to be licensed. We're a very compliant, a very highly regulated industry, right? So I can only help, help you in a couple provinces in Canada. I don't cover all of Canada. I got enough where I can, 2 provinces is at work for that, but I can help you with all the back end stuff. And other things, you can look for somebody locally. I could even help you find somebody locally. I can interview people for you, with you on a call to say, yes, this person would be a good fit based on what I've been helping you with, what you hired me to do. And yeah, we can move on from there.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. A reminder that quiet desperation is not the end of the stories, and that living a purpose is a decision available to anyone willing to make it. Yeah, this is really amazing. And from our audience who love to reach out, check the show notes out, giveaheck.com, and then definitely see the link. Remember that you are not here to survive. You are here to live on purpose. Once again, the pleasure and honor to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much.